Hi, I'm Bob from World 5 List. From immortal creatures with 100 heads to more recent sightings of slender, human-like beings lurking in the water, here are 6 of the top legendary underwater mythological creatures. Number 6. Leviathan. The Leviathan is a primordial sea serpent referenced in the Hebrew Bible. It's been part of Jewish mythology for thousands of years and is referenced in several passages throughout the Old Testament. In Psalm 74, verse 14, the Leviathan is described as a multi-headed sea serpent that is given to the Hebrews as food after being killed by God. Originally, there were 2 Leviathans, but in order to prevent them from procreating, it seems as though God killed the female and froze the meat to serve to the world's righteous, allowing the male to live. The Leviathan then appears as a symbol of Israel's enemies to be slain by God. But how did the Leviathan claim its victims? Well, according to legend, the scaly serpent is made of a combination of fire and water, enabling it to boil the water around its targets by swimming to the surface of the sea and then condemning them to a painful and horrifying death. It's also known for breathing smoke out of its nose and flames from its mouth, which is supposedly filled with razor-sharp teeth. In modern terms, though, Leviathan is often referred to as a generic term to describe any large sea monster or creature. You may also be familiar with the book by Thomas Hobbes called Leviathan. His book is a metaphor for government, showing the Commonwealth as a gigantic human form built out of the bodies of its citizens and the sovereign as its head. In his book, he argues that we need a Leviathan to maintain the peace. Deciding if a scaly serpent that boils its victims to death is a good metaphor for the king or the president, well, that's up to you. Number 5. The LERNEAN HYDRA. Meet the Hydra, the Greek guardian of the underworld, a giant multi-headed snake that resides in a swamp near a place called Lerna. The Hydra was known for rising from the swamp's murky waters and terrorizing locals in the countryside, attacking them with poisonous venom. Nobody really knows for sure how many heads the Hydra had, but estimates range from as few as 5 to even over 100, and one of them was even rumored to be immortal, allegedly rendering the monster indestructible. The legend of the Hydra's immortality would then be put to the test by Hercules, who was assigned to perform 12 labors as part of a penance for killing his wife and children during a temporary bout of insanity. One of those tasks was to kill the Hydra. Accompanied by his nephew, Hercules traveled to the swamp and discovered the Hydra's lair. His nephew then helped to defeat the monster by holding a flaming torch to the neck of each one of its heads after Hercules had hit it with his club. Finally, he decapitated the 9th head, supposedly indestructible, and the Hydra was finally dead. Hercules then buried the Hydra under a large rock and saved its poisonous blood so that he could dip his arrows in them and ensure that they were fatal to whomever he struck them with. Number 4. The Loch Ness Monster. But before I get to this classic, if you're new here, be sure you're subscribed because I make awesome videos like this for you every day and I want you to see them. The History Channel classifies this next sea monster as mythical, but many people would disagree. For over 1,500 years, there have been reported sightings of the evasive serpent in the large Scottish freshwater lake known as Loch Ness. Our underwater friend is believed by many to be real, and legend has it that in 565 AD, an Irish missionary named Saint Columba visited the Loch Ness to confront the monster after hearing rumors that it was attacking locals. Upon arriving, he then witnessed a man being attacked and commanded the monster, in the name of God, to return to the waters. It never attacked another human again. So great work, St. Columba! Theories about the monster's origins do abound, including one that holds that Nessie was a survivor of a long-extinct dinosaur species. It's unlikely, though, that a cold-blooded creature could survive in the frigid waters of Loch Ness. Some, though, think that Nessie was possibly related to a species of whale that had been extinct for 18 million years, which had a similar serpentine neck as the creature in the alleged sightings. Then, in 1994, the most credible photograph ever of the monster, which had been taken in 1934, was proven to be a hoax. Aside from reported sightings, there's no evidence that points toward the Loch Ness Monster being real, and despite these disappointing signs, Nessie still carries a cult following of supporters who believe in her existence. Number 3. The Kraken. This myth of the Kraken has evolved quite a bit over the years, so much so that it's taken on the form of a crab, a giant octopus, and a squid. One thing remains constant in the Kraken, however, is that it's growing to more than a mile in width and is one of the largest, if not the largest, of all mythological sea creatures that have ever been dreamt up by humans. In one fell swoop, the Kraken was able to devour an entire ship and its crew. Now, according to Nordic folklore, it lurks in the waters around Norway, Iceland, and Greenland. Like many other legendary sea creatures, the Kraken loves to harass humans, with its primary strategy being to attack a ship using its arms, since it's supposedly large enough to do that. And if it failed, the Kraken moved on to Plan B, which involved circling around a ship so fast that it sucked it into the water. In 1180, the King of Norway would write about sightings of the creature, and it turns out that the myth of the Kraken may have gotten its beginnings from sightings of a giant squid, a sea animal that does actually exist. Not only was the sea a deep and dark mystery full of unknown wildlife, but people most likely embellished the details of reported sightings over time. It seems as though people believed so strongly in the Kraken that it even appeared in the first modern scientific surveys of the natural world that were conducted in Europe during the 18th century. Scientists then caught on to the source of the legend in 1853 when they compared a giant squid that had washed ashore with descriptions of Kraken sightings. Now, it's understandable that the giant squid would be mistaken for a mythological sea creature, since sightings of the species are almost equally as rare. Number 2. Mermaids. Now, if you've ever watched The Little Mermaid as a child, or even as an adult 74 times, hey, no judgment here, you probably think of mermaids as one of the more peaceful inhabitants of the ocean kingdom. But not all legends depict mermaids as kind, human-like beings that keep to themselves on the ocean floor. The history of mermaids actually goes back to 1000 BC, when the Syrian goddess Atargatis dove into a lake and her bottom half took on the form of a fish. Because of her astounding beauty, the powers would not allow her upper half to transform. One of the more popular versions of mermaids in recorded history, though, known as sirens, appears in Homer's The Odyssey. Sirens take on the appearance of beautiful women and sit near the shore, entrancing men with their equally as mesmerizing singing voices. Looks can be deceiving, though, and underneath the dazzling exterior, sirens were actually man-eating monsters who devoured their victims. Stories about mermaids who weren't deliberately harmful also came with a degree of caution, however, because in some of the myths, they were mistaken as drowning women, causing men to rush into the water to help them, ending up dead themselves. Other tales describe mermaids that forgot humans can't breathe underwater, causing hypnotized men to drown before being led to the depths of the sea, and possibly being stuffed in Davy Jones' locker. Number 1. The NINGEN. Now, unlike some of the other mythological creatures I've told you about, one of the most feared monsters in Japanese lore isn't known primarily for its size. The NINGEN doesn't intimidate you by throwing its weight around, rather its eerily human-like appearance is what scares people the most. In fact, the Japanese term NINGEN actually translates to human in English. Now, allegedly, the NINGEN possesses 5-fingered hands, along with a noseless face, fins, and a tail. Another unique quality about it is that it lacks a long recorded history of sightings and has been increasingly talked about only in recent years. The NINGEN gained widespread popularity around 2007 when a Japanese magazine centered around covering the paranormal featured an article about Antarctic humans, an unidentified species that had been repeatedly witnessed by occupants of government-operated whale research ships in the icy Antarctic waters. Most sightings of the NINGEN occur at night, and they're rumored to have sleek white bodies between 20 and 30 meters long. However, it is possible that the occupants of the ship are simply experiencing a case of their eyes playing tricks on them, perhaps mistaking pieces of ice for the creature. Among other possibilities of objects mistaken for the NINGEN are albino whales, an undiscovered species of an aquatic non-human ape, an unknown species of a giant manta ray, an aquatic sloth, icebergs, and maybe even previously unknown beluga. The most extreme theory, though, is that the creatures are semi-aquatic humanoids, resulting from convergent evolution which are unrelated to any currently known species of simians or mammals. To date, no credible evidence of the NINGEN has ever been uncovered. Thanks for watching, and make sure you subscribe to World 5 List so you can be the first to know about my new exciting videos. While you're at it, don't forget to like this video and leave a comment below on what you thought. I'll see you next time on World 5.